Hey guys, how are you doing? Today in this video, we are going to talk about COP-30 and the importance for your UPSC examination. This is very important topic for your UPSC examination, not only for your preliminary examination but also mains examination. And here we go. Okay, so let's look at first the newspaper headlines recently you must have come across. तो आपने देखा होगा द हिंदू में फॉर एग्जांपल this was the news, this was the news like COP-30 ends with president's commitment to end deforestation, transition away from fossil fuels, right? So these fossil fuels are every single day, they are in the news and they are also in your examination also. तो जैसे ही ये वीडियो खत्म होगी, आज की क्लास खत्म होगी, I will show you some question which have been asked recently in your preliminary examination and also mains examination. For example, there was news headlines. What happened at COP-30? 4 science take homes from the climate summit. Okay, so this is also given in the news. Another news headlines reads as the following: climate urgency means bypassing COP is necessary, says COP-30 boss. All right. Anyways, so let's go ahead. Let's basically start from NCERT. NCERT are the backbone, है ना? NCERT, they are backbone of your UPSC preparation. तो NCERT से क्या होगा, आपको बेसिक्स क्लियर होंगे and let me talk about some basic thing. So if you are with me, तो आप अगर 7th क्लास की नई NCERT पढ़ोगे then you will come to know what is climate change, and the NCERT says, which you must know, all of you, right? Is this a long-term changes in the climate, right? So long-term changes in climate is basically defined as climate change. This may be on the scale of planet or on the regional scale. It involves shifts in temperature. This is keyword: temperature, precipitation, and weather events. And now it comes to climate change has been largely driven by human activities, particularly burning fossil fuels. So if you know the basic chemistry, and again from NCERT you must be knowing, there is one chapter called coal and petroleum, है ना? तो अगर आप लोगों ने ये चैप्टर देखा हो, it simply says in simple words, coal when there were lowland forest basically. What? Lowland forest. तो millions of, और अगर NCERT की लाइन बताऊं तो around 300 million years ago, what happened? Lowland forest. What happened actually? These forests, they were, ये जो forest थे, due to some kind of what you can say, for example, maybe some kind of disasters, natural disasters. इनके कारण क्या हुआ? नेचुरल डिजास्टर कारण कि लोलैंड फॉरेस्ट क्या हो गया? दब गए, है ना? दे वर डग्ड अप, लोलैंड फॉरेस्ट. सो वहां से क्या हुआ? व्हेन it was covered by, because of this covering there was high temperature and high pressure. So high pressure and high temperature, let me tell you, high pressure, simple words में समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं. High pressure and high temperature, these lowland forests, they turns into coal, called the process called the carbonization. And this coal, oldest are the forest, oldest are the coal, best is the quality, right? And there are 4 type of coal, anthracite, है ना? Basic geography में आपने पढ़ा होगा. Anthracite, then bituminous, okay, then you have peat, and you have lignite, and if you want to write, then you can write lignite, and finally you can write peat. Okay, peat is not the very good quality coal because carbon content is so low, maybe less than 40%. Carbon content can be 80 to 85% in anthracite. So this is the best quality coal, ash-free coal, right? And then we have this bituminous coal, which is primarily, India, Gondwana land in India, the central India, there are rich deposits of this, bituminous coal. And anthracite, a bit, it is found in a small quantity in Jammu and Kashmir region. We burn these fuels. We burn for electricity. We burn them in iron and steel industry. We generate electricity out of, burning these fuels. And we have petroleum, and petroleum are, they have also produced, petroleum is also, when marine environment, जो पानी के अंदर का environment है, what happened? ये environment क्या हो गया? Under over millions of years, what happened? It was also covered by sand, है ना? इस तरह से दब गया होगा. And उस दबने से क्या होगा? Under high pressure and high temperature, anaerobic respiration was there. Anaerobic respiration simply means there was no oxygen, right? In the absence of oxygen, what happened? These marine organisms, plants and flora and fauna both, they turned into something called petroleum. So this is petroleum, and you have something called crude oil. Okay, when you burn this, when you heat up this crude oil, basically in easy language, अगर आप इस crude oil को क्या करोगे, हीट करोगे, है ना, तो आपको अलग अलग टेम्परेचर पर, दिस इज कॉल्ड फ्रैक्शनल डिस्टिलेशन प्रोसेस, राइट, यू शुड नो दीज ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स. यहां पर हीट है, हाई टेम्परेचर है ना, टेम्परेचर गोज डाउन 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 एंड यू हैव दिस वेपर, यू हैव, you know, for example petrol, you have diesel, you have kerosene, right, then you have naphthalene, naphtha, है ना, फिर you have bitumen also. Bitumen is now these days used for, you know, metaling road, है, रोड को पक्का करने के लिए, for metal road this is used, है ना, roofing के लिए भी, है ना, छत बनाने के लिए इसको यूज करते हैं. तो we sometimes, you know, this is also called I don't remember, black gold I guess, yes, okay, so this is also called black gold. This is also given in somewhere in NCERT, it is called black gold. ब्लैक गोल्ड क्यों बोलते हैं, क्योंकि इसका बहुत सारा क्या है, यूजेज है, राइट, इट हैज पेट्रोकेमिकल्स आर एवरीवेयर, यू नो, यू मेक मेडिसिन्स, यू नो, आउट ऑफ देम, फॉर एग्जांपल यू यूज देम फॉर पेंटिंग, यू यूज देम फॉर सिंथेटिक फाइबर्स, है ना, जैसे नाइलॉन, नाइलॉन 66, है ना, यू नो नाइलॉन 66, वी आर गोइंग टू टॉक अबाउट ऑल दीज बेसिक केमिस्ट्री. देन you have polyesters, you have, you know, nylon, right? So we have so many things, acrylics for example, we have different type of plastics, everything, you know, so you can understand how much importance of all these things. But there is one cost. जब आप fossil fuels को use करते हो, the cost is that when you burn them, they release some gases, for example carbon dioxide gases, right? These gases, they capture, you know, what they do actually, they capture infrared radiation when they hit back from earth to back to the space. और वो जो ग्रीन हाउस गैस जो होनी चाहिए हमारी अर्थ में, उससे जब ज्यादा हो जाती है, वी कॉल इट, यू नो, ग्लोबल वार्मिंग. बट लेट मी show you another page of NCERT which is in 11th class. It says the following, climate change केवल एंथ्रोपोलॉजिकल फैक्टर नहीं है, एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, आई मीन, यू नो, एंथ्रोपोजेनिक फैक्टर्स के अलावा जियोमॉर्फोलॉजिकल फीचर्स जो होते हैं, बेसिकली लेट मी टेल यू, ओके, तो जियोलॉजिकल रिकॉर्ड शोज, बिकॉज ये आपका यूपीएससी के एग्जाम में, रिमेंबर, है ना, दे कैन ट्रिक यू, they can ask you tricky question, है ना, so you need to understand, you need to have very good understanding of what is being taught, you know, both of these things. For example, climate, what it says, geological record shows alteration of glacial and interglacial periods. The geomorphological features, especially high altitude, high latitude, exhibit traces of avalanches and retreats of glacier. Essentially what it want to say, it says the evidences are the following: climate change is a natural and continuous process, you know, not only anthropogenic. If they say, कभी कभी यूपीएससी में ऐसा ट्रिकी क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, only anthropogenic, if they says anthropogenic, only anthropogenic, it is wrong, there is something wrong, right? Volcanism, for example, I am going to make another video on volcanic eruption, you know, in the next class. So for the next video, volcanic eruption also, it throws aerosol into the atmosphere, you know, तो ये सारे कारण है उसके. ओके, सन स्पॉट्स के थ्रू भी हम क्या कर सकते हैं, एस्ट्रोनॉमिकल एंड टेरेस्ट्रियल कॉजेस क्या हो सकते हैं, सन स्पॉट्स आर डार्क एंड कूलर पैचेज ऑन द सन, राइट? तो जब क्या होगा, व्हेन द नंबर ऑफ सन स्पॉट्स इंक्रीजेस, कूलर एंड वेटर, यू नो, वेदर एंड ग्रेटर स्टॉर्म्स अकर. A decrease in sunspot number is associated with warm and dim condition. Okay, so let me quickly, briefly tell you about you know, greenhouse gases. Okay, this is also given. So greenhouse gases जो है, for example carbon dioxide, right? Then you have methane. So there are 6 major greenhouse gases, by the way. This carbon dioxide, if you know about this carbon dioxide, where do you get this carbon dioxide? Burning fossil fuels. Then you have methane. This is called Mars gas because it is found in marshy region. For example, rice field, है ना? तो rice field में आपको गैस मिल जाएगी. And then you have N2O. This is called nitrous gas. Basic science में इसको क्या बोलते हैं? Laughing gas, nitrous gas. Okay. So this nitrous gas, it is again burning fossil fuels and crop residue, fertilizers, है ना? यहाँ से ये सारी मिलती है. उसके अलावा आपके पास 3 बहुत और इंपॉर्टेंट है. They are HFC, है ना? Hydrofluorocarbon, they are called fluorinated gas. Sometimes F gas, F mean fluorine. So it is called fluorinated gas. HFC, you have HFC, then you have these are used as refrigerant, aerosols, propellants. Then you have SF6 and PFC, है ना? Perfluorocarbon and SF6. These are major greenhouse gases. Apart from these gases, you have For example, carbon monoxide, to some extent, ground level ozone also plays important role. You should know all of these things, right? There is something called GWP, green warming, global warming potential, sorry. So the term was coined first time in COP24 2018, and it says if you take the value of carbon dioxide 1, then methane is around 28 times. Methane is 28 times. इसका जो green ग्लोबल वार्मिंग पोटेंशियल है वो कितना है 28 टाइम्स ज्यादा है ना. फिर अगर आप देखोगे नाइट्रस गैस का है अराउंड 265, इफ यू वांट टू जस्ट नो द नंबर. एंड HFC, PFC and they are much greater, it is in thousands, so you don't need to remember the values in thousands. For example, if you were to ask me, HFC का हो सकता है 200 से लेकर 12,000 तक या 1100 500 something, right? 11,500. This is all about, okay, all right. So let's go back to the COP. Belém, there is Belém, Brazil में COP हुआ है recently, and you should know this UNFCCC है जो United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. उसमें COP जो क्या है वो supreme body है ना. COP is what? COP is the supreme body. What is this? It is supreme body. Just remember this thing, okay? And COP's annual conference, whose UPSC member countries assess progress, negotiation, agreements and their commitment basically, so this is what is actually this COP is, right? तो COP जो इस समय हुआ है उसके बारे में मैं आपको सीधा बता दूं and without getting into much detail. तो जो COP था, COP में क्या हुआ basically, a word is called Mutirao. Mutirao simply means Brazilian word for collective efforts and consensus, and it refers as the consensus on the most contentious climate talk, है ना. तो जो ये word है यहाँ पर यूज हुआ है उसका ये क्या है, वहां पे एक कम्युनिटी है, टूपी गुरानी लैंग्वेज है बेसिकली. टूपी गुरानी कम्युनिटी की जो लैंग्वेज है, इट मींस कलेक्टिव एफर्ट्स, कोलैबोरेशन, कम्युनिटीज कमिंग टुगेदर, दिस इज व्हाट इज द मीनिंग. ओके, ऑलराइट. तो ये इसने क्या कहा है, इंप्लीमेंटेशन बेसिकली. तो ओके, इंप्लीमेंटेशन ऑफ आर्टिकल 9 ऑफ पेरिस क्लाइमेट. पेरिस क्लाइमेट में जो कमिटमेंट थी वो क्या थी, पेरिस क्लाइमेट में कमिटमेंट थी कि जो टेम्परेचर है इट शुड नॉट गो अबव 2 डिग्री सेल्सियस और प्रेफरेबली 1.5 डिग्री सेल्सियस, एज कंपेयर टू इंडस्ट्रियल टाइम्स. और आपने देखा होगा 2024 में 1.5 डिग्री टेम्परेचर वाज ब्रीच्ड, है ना. दिस वाज ब्रीच्ड इन 2014. सो यू शुड रिमेंबर ऑल ऑफ दीज थिंग्स, ओके. सो वी आर नॉट गेटिंग इनटू मच डिटेल्स, एंड लेट मी टेल यू व्हाई, व्हाट वाज द क्रिटिकल एनालिसिस ऑफ COP30, and they say there was muted political outcome. It means implementation agenda diluted, weak commitments, vague pathways, inadequate financial assurance. This was one, COP30 happened, but it did not deliver what developing countries was expecting. That was one, rich countries, those rich countries had, what they have actually, they has always promised money earlier, even those promises are not fully met. तो जैसे $100 बिलियन पर डॉलर की बात उन्होंने की थी, और जो बैकग्राउंड क्लाइमेट फाइनेंस गैप जो है, डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज ने 100 बिलियन ईयर का प्लेस किया था ड्यू 2020, लेकिन डिलीवर कब हुआ, 2020 में हुआ, ठीक है. देन देयर इज NCOG टेक्निकल इश्यूज आल्सो, ऑलराइट. एडेप्टेशन फाइनेंसेस क्राइसिस आल्सो देयर, क्वालिटी फाइनेंसेस क्राइसिस. COP30 फाइनल आउटकम क्या था, अर्जेंट डिसीजन, पोस्ट प्रोन एंड फाइनेंस आर्किटेक्चर रिफॉर्म्स, इनकम्प्लीट. ओके, जस्ट रिमेंबर दिस थिंग. तो essentially what is the basically in one sentence if you want to ask, so COP30 failed to deliver meaningful climate finance actually, है ना. Living poor and vulnerable countries frustrated, sometimes LMIC, है ना, lower middle income countries, right. And because rich countries, they delayed and avoided major financial commitment for tackling climate change which they promised. So now we are going to wind up this video, and before that let me give you some MCQ questions, which have been asked recently in 2023. So this question says, and now read this question: carbon markets are likely to be one of the most widespread tools in the fight against climate change, and the statement 2 is carbon markets transfer resources from the private sector to state. आपको बताना है कौन सा इसमें से स्टेटमेंट सही है. Please do comment in the answer. Another question for you. Okay, this is another question for you. तो जो दूसरा क्वेश्चन है वो भी क्या है, क्लाइमेट एक्शन ट्रैकर के बारे में. गो थ्रू दिस क्वेश्चन एंड आंसर इन द comment section. Another question for you again, go through this question also. This has been asked in 2022. Go through this question and again comment in the answer. And finally, I am giving you one question before winding up this video. COP30 exposes the deepening crisis of climate finance and raises concern about the credibility of global climate commitments. Examine the key outcome of COP-30 with special reference to climate finance gaps, adaptation funding and loss of damage mechanism. Also discuss the implications of the global South and India's climate diplomacy. This is very big topic. We have cut short. Okay. So we will get back to you again in another video, and please do comment if you want to me do another video on a particular topic on climate change. Okay, and I expect you answering these questions which have been asked in 2022, then in 2023, and once you are able to answer these questions, I'll give you new questions. So if you like video, don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and do comment. Thank you so very much. See you guys until next time. Take care. Bye bye.